Let's go to Ty in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What's up, Ty?
Hey, Dr. J. How are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you, dude?
We're doing all right.
Awesome. So what's up?
So I'm sure we can go in a couple different directions, but I'll just start with my question and see where it goes.
Okay.
So how can my wife and I come together on the same page about parenting decisions whenever we have polar opposite upbringings? In terms of,
well, let me say this. So
go ahead
I care less just on the face. I care less about where you've been and more about unification, about where you're going.
Sure.
So tell me about your past that make you concerned that you can't get together and go forward in the same direction.
Well, the example I want to bring up is actually in relation to like a recent event with our son and his sleeping habits.
Okay.
But a little before that, so I grew up in a household where I think was pretty decent. My parents were always present. They were always available and raised us to be very good, independent adults. My wife, again, has the opposite, to where she grew up in a pretty volatile home where one parent was probably emotionally and verbally abusive and the other was kind of a peacekeeper. So she has some trauma from her past that I think gives her some experiences and perspectives that are very different from mine. So that kind of manifests itself today in that we have a 2-year-old son. We've been together for about 4 years. We have a 2-year-old son. And our opinion of his sleeping habits are polar opposite in terms of I don't think he has a healthy relationship with sleep, and she thinks that the way that he sleeps or the way that he doesn't sleep is actually somewhat normal. And we've been struggling with this for a while.
Okay. Let's get to the sleep issue. But first, I want to say this pretty clearly. Your childhood may have been free of trauma or have much less trauma than your wife's did. The resulting wisdom, yours is not superior to hers.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. And she learned some extraordinary lessons about connectivity and love and hiding and fear and sleep and things that you didn't learn because your body didn't have to go to war every day.
Yep.
And so there is just the way listening to you talk about it, your childhood was superior to hers. And now we've ended up in this issue. And I can't figure out why she can't see the way I was raised was the right way. And so why can't we just do it like this? And so I want to be careful of that train of thought, okay? Because that gets into mine is better. And when mine is better and you're talking to somebody who's been through trauma, hers is, yeah, but I got to survive. And then now you're talking about the war you've been having for a couple of years, okay? So let's think of, yes, man, your parents they did an awesome job. Great. And her parents did a miserable job. True, those can both be facts. Yet both of your wisdom that you've both accumulated from, you have a great picture of what it looks like. She has an incredible picture of what survival looks like. That combination can make for great parents when both of those wisdoms are honored. If one is given preferential treatment over the other, man, you're talking about, that's a recipe for a mess. So the conversation about the sleep, we can get to it. It's going to be less of this particular issue and more of a framework that you and your wife can develop for how do we make decisions when I want it one way and he wants it the other way, or vice versa, right? So tell me about the sleep thing.
So our son is about 2 years old.
Okay.
He has since birth never, I think, been able to sleep through the night. I can count probably on one hand probably that's happened over the 2 years.
Okay.
So we have a pretty good bedtime routine where, we have dinner and then good bath time and then we relax and ease into the night and he goes to sleep pretty well. But he will not fall asleep on his own, and he will only fall asleep if he's on one of us, say rocking or nursing, etc.
Okay.
And then typically the routine is he'll wake up within a couple hours after going down, and then he has to be rocked back to sleep. Oftentimes I'll start, but he gets upset with me because he wants to nurse. And then over the night between 11 and up to 5 a.m., he's waking up every hour and a half or so, and will only go back to sleep if he's nursing or on one of us. And so it's been a challenge. So yeah.
And so do you want to just let him scream and cry it out until he figures it out, and she doesn't want that?
Well, I think that's what's hard is like we do have some good conversations where we'll get into like the approach that we like to use or the approach that we think might be appropriate. But again, I think like those backgrounds, and thank you for affirming that, because I will say that's one thing that she's been phenomenal at, is she is very good at communicating her needs and her experiences, and she's been with a counselor for quite some time, and I will offer, she's been extremely brave and amazing in facing her past and working through those things.
That's awesome.
And I'm trying to be supportive of her for all that.
So
yeah.
Here's the challenge with babies, and I'm gonna, dude, you know this as well as I do. When this comes out, do not look at the YouTube comments, because there's gonna be a billion of them. Okay,
Yeah.
everyone's got an opinion on sleep hygiene and sleep this, and the kids need to be whatever. My first impulse, right, wrong, or indifferent. Well, here's my very, very first impulse: is I'm not a pediatrician and I'm not a children's sleep expert. Okay. And so finding a doctor that you trust in your community that could give you some, what I would say, some informed guidance. Does he know y'all, you and your wife? Does he know your baby and the particular, family history and blood, details and dietary habits? Can he give you some, or she give you some informed guidance there? Okay. So that's important. Beneath that is, I like to trust a baby.
Yeah.
And if a baby is telling you, I'm not safe, something in my environment is telling me I'm not okay, my first impulse is to ask me and my wife, what tension are we putting out into the world in here that we've created, that this is an unsafe environment for this kid to go to sleep in? That may be an unfair, and I don't say it to blame it. I'm the adult, and I want to go look in the mirror first before I start blaming a 2-year-old for not doing things the quote unquote right way. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I'm just creating a framework. Is there tension? And am I sleeping through the night? Does my wife sleep through the night? Right? I took it off right before the show. Do I track my sleep with like a Whoop strap and find out, am I sleeping at night? Or is my baby doing exactly what I'm doing? I've just learned some tricks to cover it up in the middle of the night, or I don't fully wake up. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. I want to look at me and my wife. Do we have anxiety in our home? Have we created an anxious life? And that this baby is just mirroring the environment we've created for it. So if I ask you that, does your wife struggle from anxiety? Do you have an anxious home? Are y'all struggling with debt or connectivity issues? Are you and your wife having a challenging marriage season right now? Like, what's going on in your world?
We do struggle with some debt. We're in baby step 2, pretty deep. But frankly, I think we're in a good place. Like, even though there's some struggles and things we're working through, we have a pretty good way to communicate and voice our needs and stay connected in that way. Now, I will say she has recently taken a couple steps to put in boundaries in place with her parents, and based on some steps that she's taking. I know before we had him, she had some anxiety that would manifest at night and had trouble sleeping. This is another way. I'll just go ahead and own it. I've always had a really good relationship with sleep, and so this is actually, for me personally, it's been difficult because it's a way that I feel like I can't connect with my son. And so,
tell me more about that.
Sure. So, I was the kid where I would go to sleepovers as a kid, and I would actually go to sleep a decent hour instead of staying up all night playing video games. So I've always just had, again, really healthy relationship to sleep and decent health habits, et cetera. And so when I see my son struggling with that at night, and I go to rock him, and he just won't fall asleep. Like, he'll just stay awake for an hour or 2 hours just for what I think is no reason. But so it's hard for me to connect with him that way because I'm trying to encourage him or teach him, and I just don't feel that I connect with him in that way.
So let me tell you this, man. He's 2.
Yeah.
And you want to impart these wisdom lessons, and you want to give him the best path forward. He's just 2. He is a bundle of nerves. That's what he is, man. He's a bundle of responses. He's slowly coming into his own, right? So he's going to get 3 and 4 and 5, and you can check out Piaget. And you can find the stages of development, right? And he's going to start transitioning here in the next year or so. And you're going to have a radically different human, a human with a personality. And he's got a personality now. But when he starts chit-chatting with you and talking and being silly or being very serious, you're going to watch that emerge. What I would tell you, if I could go back, man, and just, I'm saying this with all of my heart, is my son right now he's going to be 13 in a few months. Dude, I over-informed the first 4 years of his life. and I underexperienced it with him. I tried to give him a bunch of info and make him do things the right way instead of just honoring, man, he happens to be a kid who he was the opposite of your kid. My son can go to sleep in the middle of a train wreck. He's like, all right, good night. And he's out. And dude, I've struggled with sleep my whole life. And so there was times I wanted to hang out and play, and he just was going to sleep. He needed more sleep than I needed. And I thought I wasn't connecting him in that way. And he needs to learn how to toughen up and stay away. Dude, it wasn't him that was the connection issue. It was me. And so what I would tell you is making peace with, you are in a season, say it's the next 6 months, say it's the next 12 months. You are in a season, Ty. I'm going to get less sleep. And so I'm going to have to be a little more intentional about my discipline in the morning when it comes to exercise. I'm going to have to be a little more intentional about not snapping at people because I'm going to be sleep deprived because I got a little kid in the house. And I'm going to take advantage of those couple hours when I quote unquote think he should be asleep and he needs sleep and it's best for him. Man, a baby's body knows. You know what I mean? And make peace with that, because what he's going to do is he's going to feel the tension from dad that something's not right. And he's going to already internalize as a 2-year-old, it's his fault. He has to solve this thing. And you don't want a 2-year-old carrying that kind of burden. You don't want a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old carrying that kind of burden. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I can see that because I know it has been manifesting for me in other ways. So like I've had issues at work and performance, and even when I'm working from home, back to your question about tension in the house. Me working from home is very difficult because I'm always feel like I'm running behind or late because I'm not at my best.
Here's the thing. Is this your first kid?
It is.
Yeah. This is all of us parents with our first kid. And listen, I got a hard book deadline. After the last couple of days, I've been writing home early and writing home. I just booked a hotel for the next 4 days. I'm leaving my house because I can't do it. And I feel guilty that I'm leaving my kids, and I feel guilty I'm leaving my wife. I can't do it. And I can sit at home and just be radioactive and not get any work done, or I just had to be a grown-up and make other arrangements. And it's going to cost money. It's going to cost all kind of, it just is. It just is. And so there's a great lesson having a child can teach us is how little control we actually have over the world. Yeah. And the quicker you come to terms with how little power you have, the more peaceful your home will be. Because right now you're fighting nature, you're fighting biology, you're fighting a 2-year-old. And you will lose that fight. And even if you win, you lose. You see what I'm saying? And so here's what I would love. And man, I know you are going to get blown up on the internet on this. I am too. About all different kind of sleep training programs and blah. Fine. Yep. Whatever. All at the end of all of the programs, at the end of all of the blah, I want to make peace with the kid in front of me. And man, I don't know many kids that are more disciplined than my kids. They're very disciplined. My kids they're great. They follow the rules, are good kids. And they're also freakishly creative and silly and goofy and fun because they're children. And it's me making peace with, my job is to control every little thing, make sure they're on the right path. My job is to make sure they don't kill themselves, make sure they're people of value and integrity, which means I got to live my life because they're watching me. And it means I've got to honor, hey, this one wants to do gymnastics. This one's finding his place or her place in theater. And I thought they were going to be a wrestler. And I'm going to go with them in their journey, not force it. Does that make sense? And that's as little as you know what? I'm going to try for 30 days just to make peace with the sleep thing. He'll go to sleep when he goes to sleep. And we're going to honor that in the house. What we're going to do is instead of focusing on managing his sleep schedule, we're going to focus on removing the tension from the house. And dude, I might be out to lunch. It worked in my home. It might not work in everybody's home, but I would challenge you to try that. As you feel yourself getting frustrated, don't judge yourself. Just be curious about oh, dude, I'm starting to get pissed again. And he's 2. I'm not going to let him make me mad because he's 2. He's just not tired. So we're getting the trucks out. And we're going to play trucks. And I'm going to get 2 hours less sleep tonight. And I'm going to have to really be intentional tomorrow because I could be not cool when I'm sleepy. And we have a toddler. We have a 2-year-old. Life just gets sideways. And so me and my wife are going to have to learn how to be married now with a 2-year-old. And I don't want to speak into your life, but I don't know many people with a 2-year-old whose sex life isn't screwed up and whose communication schedule isn't screwed up and whose their ability to talk to each other isn't screwed up. And so there's something important about going back to the well with your wife, y'all two, and saying, all right, we got a new marriage now. It's one where we love each other and we're committed to each other. And I still think you're a smoke show and you think I'm pretty good looking. And we have this human in our house that will be with us forever. And we got to learn how to be married again. And then you're going to have another kid and you're going to have to do this whole thing over again. And then you're going to have a third kid and you're going to get a dog and you're going to have to, all right, it's just going to keep going. But don't try to get back to what your marriage used to be, because it's not ever going to get back there. You have a new marriage. Talk about what that looks like. Create it. You get to create whatever you want. And in the meantime, make peace with your 2-year-old son. Make peace with him. He's not operating on as much sleep. Cool. There are seasons when I got to lay him down. He's going to cry for a minute, babble about until he finally goes to sleep. But the meta is I'm not going to go to war with him. And when me and my wife when you and your wife, I'll say that when y'all have a challenge, let's go back to how do we create the most peace in this home? What does that look like? And that might mean that we're going to sleep in different beds for the next couple of weeks. Or we're going to try, I want pizza every Friday. I can't eat pizza because when I eat pizza, and then I breastfeed, then he gets fussy. I don't know why he does. He just does. So I'm going to stop doing that. We're going to have to make some sacrifices because our goal is to have a non-anxious home. And when you have a non-anxious home, then people can rest and then they can sleep and then they can fill in the blank. So go seek that. Seek a non-anxious home. And stop going to war with a 2-year-old, my brother. You're a good dad, man. You are a good dad. And the faster you can learn that you have value as a father, not because of what you're going to make your son do, but because you are always going to be by your son's side, the faster you learn that, the more peace your home will have.